Hello there, fellow Scorpios. Thank you so much for joining me for the 2-week Scorpio look at things. This is going to be a theme that comes up and is going on within the next couple of weeks for us. There goes our first card. Um, what we're going to be looking at is a life cycle that we're going through right now, Scorpio. There goes more cards. One more card. And a life cycle is something that we go through to learn something or to experience something. So we're going to look at the setup for the life cycle. We're going to take that card. The setup for the life cycle. And then we're going to look at the lesson or experience of the life cycle. And then we're going to look at what happens as we incorporate that lesson or experience into our lives. So the setup, you may recognize all of that right now. For most of you, that'll be the case. Lesson or experience and what happens as you incorporate that lesson or experience may be a different story, though you may not recognize that yet because it may still be coming in the future. Good evening, Manuela. Hello, hello. I am fantastic, thank you. Glad you're here. Tonight, the deck that I'm using is my Druidcraft Tarot. I've named my particular deck Earth Tones. Let's see. I forgot to bring a drink of something with me into the office. Let's see if I can get through this video without sipping away like I normally do. All right, so Scorpios, what we have showing up for us right off the bat is the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. And this is the card that indicates something that's going on in our environment. And so Scorpios, what this says is basically that in the environment we are now, we are missing somebody. We're wishing somebody was around, or we're wishing that we were with somebody. So we are missing people in our environment, Scorpios. Next thing that we have coming up talks to me about our subconscious leanings. Subconscious leanings have to do with collaborating with others, getting something accomplished, making some kind of progress on a project. And so that's what we're thinking about in our subconscious. That's what our subconscious mind is focused on. That may not always be up in the front at a conscious level, but it's a kind of a background program that's working for us right now. And so that has to do with how can we collaborate and make things work? How can we work together with other people and achieve the goals that we have? Okay, so that's subconscious leanings, Scorpio. Next, what we have, my dears. We have the Ace of Cups showing up in reverse. Ace of Cups in reverse, and this is a card that I would not normally read in a traditional way because of the position in the spread. It actually is telling me two things. It's telling me first about our communication style, and secondly about our learning style. So normal traditional meanings for Ace of Cups, you're going to want to kind of throw it out the window right now. Okay? I know a lot of my Scorpio followers do read cards, so I just want to be very clear there. As far as learning style, I do think that our learning right now, the things that we are learning have to do with something that we feel a lot of emotion about. And I think that as we're learning this, as we're learning what we're learning about this, maybe we're learning things about a relationship or how our relationship is working or not working, how our interactions are moving forward or going backwards. And so I think that, we are getting some mixed messages here. We're getting some messages that make us happy and some messages that not so happy. We're realizing that there are things that we need to improve whenever we're learning. That's one of the things that we're learning, is that there are things we need to improve, and paying attention to what those are. The next thing that I'm looking at is communication style. So, fellow Scorpios, I think what's going on is we are communicating in more subtle ways in this particular life cycle. And we are also trying to really play up the good things, play up those things that make us happy. We're trying to pay more attention to those and maybe even show those off more than the everyday occurrences as we're communicating. Okay? Next thing that I'm looking at talks to me about work. Now, for me, work is two things. Work has to do with that way that we make a living or how we feel productive in the community, but it also has to do with what we do to improve our own inner character to make us happy with us. So, as far as outside work, what we have coming up here, we've got the Magician. And so, for outside work, I feel like we are manifesting what we want to. We are making things happen that we want to have happen. And then, as far as inner work, there's something about the inner work that has to do with leadership. We are really trying to find our balance around leadership, around the idea of things that we lead or people that we lead, but also around the idea of other people's leadership in our lives. We are looking at that as well and sort of getting some ideas about when we're in a leadership position, do we want to act like those people that we're observing or do we want to handle things in a different way? Okay. La ha da 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 da. So that's Scorpio so far. All of this is Scorpio actually. Um, Next card we have coming up does talk to me about that part of your personality, which is being grown or expanded right now. We have the Three of Cups in reverse. This just tells me you do have some friends getting on your last nerve. And where you're growing or expanding is in learning how to deal with this and cope with this and get around this without making the situation worse than it already is. Okay. And then the next thing that we have coming up talks to me about those things that you stand for. And what we have here is the Seven of Swords. In this deck, it's more about strategy than it is deception or illusion like it is in some of the other decks. I mean, if you look at this man is obviously thinking some things through. He's writing down some things so he can get a clearer picture of what it is he's trying to work out. And also, if you check out the swords in this particular card, you can see that they're sort of strategically laid and leaned so that they almost make a weaving type pattern back and forth with each other or a lattice type pattern. So to me, that suggests strategy. I mean, these swords are not just laid casually down willy nilly as soldiers went home to their family. These are swords that were strategically placed. So this really is talking to me about that. You know, there is some kind of strategy that you are trying to use, Scorpios, or I should say that we are, since I'm a Scorpio too. And maybe somebody is saying, you know, why are you planning so much? Why don't you do it a little bit more off the cuff? Why does everything have to be so regimented? And we're saying, well, because this is how things get done. Why don't you go be off the cuff somewhere else and let me be my regimented self and be happy? Step off, Jack. Okay, so that's what we've got going on there. Now, how that other person that you're having to stand up to for your strategies is perceiving you is our next card. And we've got the Princess of Pentacles in reverse. They don't feel like you're taking very good care of yourself. And they also feel like you're not really receptive to any kind of message from somebody else about the idea of taking care of yourself. Or ourselves, I should say. Okay, so all of that stuff should be recognizable. That should be present tense. If it's not present tense, it'll be coming up very shortly. Next, we're going to get into things that may or may not be recognizable. They may actually have more to do with the future than the present for some of you. And for others of you, you will recognize most of this. So next thing we're looking at is lesson or experience. Scorpios, this is my card about delving into the metaphysical, the paranormal, the occult, the arcane. This is my card that says you are doing some kind of detective work and you're doing it at some kind of energetic level. So you may be, excuse me, excuse me, you may be, doing some detective work, like doing readings and asking questions to find out some things about some situations around yourself or maybe even for friends, but I think this is more about for you. Or you may be somebody who You're just discovering some of these things, and you're deciding, you know what, I want to see if this stuff is for real or not. And so you're just starting to explore that. So you're either continuing explorations or you're starting to explore something that's metaphysical, arcane, occult, paranormal, ESP, mediumship, psychic, all of that type of stuff. That's what we're talking about. Any of that can be stuff that you are investigating or investigating more fully. Now, as you are investigating this, la da 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 da. It's interesting. I think some of the things that you find as you're investigating this are disappointing. Some of the news that comes up because you're getting more tuned into the spiritual is disappointing news. It's interesting because the card that came up opposite this is the Moon in reverse, which does talk about the truth coming out. I have a strong sense that the truth coming out is tied to this disappointment card. So I think whatever truth is coming out, I don't think you're going to be so thrilled about it. All right? And then ultimately what we have is the Five of Wands in reverse. Five of Wands means that there's no competition. Nobody can hold a candle to you. You are the one, whether we're talking about the one magical, wonderful employee, or whether we're talking about the, excuse me, the one perfect partner. Either way, and I think this will vary for some Scorpios to other Scorpios. I do see that there's just no competition there. Okay? You have no competition as far as nobody else cannot compete you. You are who you are and you're doing great. Nobody can take that away from you. As much as they might wish they could and as much as they might talk smack, they can't stand up to your standards. Okay? So that's what I have for you, Scorpios. Right? That's interesting, Manuela. That's what my dad actually used to do when I was a little girl. La da 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 da. Okay, so that's what we have for you, Scorpios. Thank you so much for stopping by, for hanging out, for liking, for sharing, for subscribing. Thank you also to those of you who have bought and will be buying readings from me. By the way, I do have live readings available, either $100 for 30 minutes, $150 for 45 minutes, or $200 for 60 minutes. Or I have 1 or 2 question readings available. Those are recorded readings, and those are $30 for 1 question or $53 for 2. So those are available. If you see me and you think that I may be the reader for you, go ahead and let's get something scheduled for you really quickly. All my contact information is on my website, which is in the description box below. But that is www.amista.info. I-N-F-O. Thank you all for being here and spending your valuable, precious time with me. And I'll see you on the next video. Peace out.